We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
I may not be a millionaire. I may not have a brand new Frigidaire. My clothes ain't all fancy and my car ain't brand new, but there is joy in my
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who says it.
I'm joined here by my co-host and recording artist, Lolita Robinson. Welcome
How are
to another
you?
day of Joy in My House.
Good to be here. Good to see you, and all in one piece.
All in one piece, yes.
Yep.
Yes. I want to thank you guys out there who support us by listening and viewing and by liking our Facebook fan page. I want you guys out there to engage with us. Find us on Facebook /JoyInMyHouse. We also have a Twitter account. It's Twitter.com /JoyInMyHouse. Feel free to send us any comments or questions for our guests. We've had an amazing amount of guests and array of shows here.
Yes, we have. And
Everything
it's neat. God is
from
bringing
music
people back.
to-
So we have like a little family. I think that, you know what, it's important to have people come, but we have people coming back to see what God's been doing in their lives and to give us more support.
I agree.
Yeah.
We've created such great relationships
Yeah,
with
we
the
have.
people that have come on the show.
Yeah.
And we have one of them on today
Yes.
coming back.
I think it's going to be a very important show today for many people out there.
Usually I say we have our Thanksgiving special, which we had last week with Pastor Jeff Timlin from
Yes.
Bridges Church. I thought it was a great message. If you didn't catch it next week, feel free to find all of our archive shows here on latalklive.com. Just click on Join My House and you can see all of our past shows. And I thought it was just a great show to be thankful and be grateful during the holiday seasons.
Yeah, it was. It was good. It was good that we had a little time off and to air that show again for people. I think it's important. As when we were sitting here before you came, Van was talking about this family in the Philippines who went through struggles that I think sometimes we are so saturated in life that here in America that we're not grateful.
Oh, yes.
It's hard. Not everybody. I don't make a blank statement, but it's easy to get lackadaisical and
I agree with
praise
that.
and worship. I think it's important.
I think I take things for granted like gasoline and water.
Right.
Oh, I can just go to the gas station if I run out of gas.
That's
I can just
right.
go get a glass of water and take a shower for half an hour.
Yeah, last night I was out in this weather. I went to see Best Man's Holiday again for the second
you?
time. And I was in that cold weather with my friend, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, there's some people that are homeless. What do the people do, at least in the summer, but when they don't have a home
I saw
or
that
whatever.
as well.
Did you see it?
Yes, I saw the home. I work out of a gym called Hardcore Fitness in Fullerton, and there's a homeless shelter there.
Okay.
So when it rains, you get to see the homeless just kind of have to find places of shelter to just stay out of the rain, let alone the cold.
That cold. Van was going to say
Yeah,
something.
and Southern California has the best weather
It
around
really does.
because
Yeah, we do.
I was just talking to my nephew and my sister, and it's snowing
Okay, where are they?
in Philadelphia.
Philly.
It's,
Philadelphia.
it's snowing right now. It's snowing, so you don't have to worry about no snow
Right.
unless you go to Big Bear. But
Yeah, if you want to do that. But we got a lot to be grateful for. So I'm glad you said that earlier today about we as Americans sometimes, and Pastor Timlin always talks about that because he does a lot of missions trip. We have no idea what we have here. Even in our poverty, we are rich.
Yes.
So we want to just encourage you out there. We're not minimizing your problems. Like today, we're going to hopefully talk about different things that you're going through, but
And that's what I was going to say. I usually call
keep
it
your head up. Keep your head up.
a Thanksgiving special, a Christmas special, but I think today's a special.
Oh, yeah.
I really
Yeah,
believe it is in my
yeah.
heart.
It's timely.
Most people during the holidays say, you should be happy. It's the holidays. You should be in a great mood. And
Right.
I'm not always in that mood.
No. No.
I'm not always where I want to be financially, emotionally, even spiritually.
Right.
Times are tough now.
Yeah,
Times
they
are real
are.
difficult. And not just for me, but then it translates to my children and then to the families they affect, so on and so forth. So I
Yeah.
think today we're going to have a great message for you. Jocelyn Jackson, she is a grief
Beautiful woman,
specialist.
too. Very pretty
is going to be
lady.
back on the show. She did our Mother's Day special.
Yes, she did.
And now
That's
she's
right.
going to be doing our holiday special today, how to get through the holidays. And I like what she says. It's not just getting through the holidays. It's really working on yourself for longevity, to really have that peace in your heart.
Well, good. Well, I got so much to say, but I want to wait till Jocelyn comes so we can let her set this up and
So-
see what direction the Lord wants to go in.
Once again, I want to thank you guys for listening and viewing and watching our show. We're over a year now
Yeah.
of being on latalklive.com, and it's been a pleasure and it's been a privilege to be here and to create these relationships with our guests, and now to have them come back and share more and,
And
more.
share more. I think God is going to, He built the foundation, He's going to build upon it. You know, we're going to have a little family. Who knows what He's going to do with all this?
But it's really it's a pleasure.
It is a
It
real
really is.
pleasure.
It
So,
really is.
And before we go, let's tell everybody about the pleasure you had yesterday that you spent. How much did you spend to do it?
You know what? I don't even know how much it was. One of my students actually enrolled me. I did the
Oh.
Spartan race last night. If anybody knows what the Spartan race is, it's a 4, 8, and 13-mile run through obstacles. Each race has different set of obstacles. The first race has, I think, 15 obstacles. The second one has 20, and the last one has 25.
Wow. Power to you people. I'm not kidding to do this stuff.
Well, it was rainy.
Oh, that's right. It was colder
cold.
than
Well, forget it raining,
that's
forget it cold.
right. Yesterday it
They
was
make you jump into lakes. And these lakes are not
and you pay.
spas. It is freezing. The water, you almost can't breathe. That was the worst. I'm Mexican. I'm a tropical man.
I'm telling
I
you,
like
you
the
like
heat.
the heat. And
I
you-
do not like to be cold, but it's better to do the whole race without any clothes. I had little Speedos. Those are all I wore. And my hiking shoes. Because if you, have
gotta-
clothes,
are you gonna pay? Are you gonna put that on
Oh,
Facebook?
no.
You're the man. The paparazzis are gonna be on Facebook. Van, would you like to see him in speedos in the rain running?
nobody would. Nobody would. Let me be very clear. But if you wear clothes, it gets wet and
That's
it
what I
doesn't
hear.
dry.
That's
so
what I
you're
hear.
much colder when you have clothes on. So it's best to wear the least amount of clothes, and it's cold. So I was very uncomfortable, but it was something that
Wow, I
Allows me-
commend you for doing it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
whatever the reason you explain that, you know, because
well, it
you
gauges me.
and you
I get
train fighters, which people don't know. You need to tell that.
I train. I work with people. I work with a gentleman who's getting ready for the triathlete.
And what can you say his name or
Yeah, Alberto Soto. He's training for the triathlon.
is that
I
the
work-
fighter that you're working with?
No, the fighter is Sam Lira out of Hardcore Fitness.
Okay.
He just had his second fight since I've known him, November 30th.
Yeah, people need to know you. You know, you're always propping me up. Go ahead. So you know what? I'm laughing and everything. That's not something that God's called me in the physical fitness, but that's the people you're going to reach.
You know what? And I
That's
say
the
it a
people
lot in
you're
my
going to
group.
reach.
I do say, because I get to share Christ with them.
Yeah, you do, and the recovery and stuff.
And
I
the same
ain't
discipline
not
that
gonna
I
run that stuff.
the same discipline that I put in my physical life, I
Right.
put in my spiritual as well.
That's right.
It's a process.
That's right.
And if I want to develop, I have to go through the pain, which we're going to talk about today.
Right.
How to grieve and how to go through this process of pain to hopefully come out on the other side a little stronger, a little more. And I don't want to say strong because strong is not the word. To have more peace.
Right. That's right. We were talking about that. So I can't wait. Let's get Jocelyn here. But congratulations yesterday.
Thank you. Thank
More
you.
power to you, brother.
I want you guys to engage with us out there. I want you guys to follow us on Facebook /Join My House. I want you to find us on Ustream.tv. If you're just listening to us right now, you can stream us on any mobile device on Ustream.tv /LA Talk Live Radio. We have Jocelyn Jackson. She is a grief recovery specialist. We're going to have a great message for you today on
Stay
how to get through
tuned.
the holidays.
How to get through 'em.
Especially if you're in a situation where you're hurting a little bit for any reason. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Join My House.
How can I forget you? Where did the sweetness go, Lord? Have I fallen from your hand? Am I so far from you, Lord? Is my life in your plan? Where can I run when I feel all alone? Do my words truly reach you high on your throne? Where did your presence go, Lord? Have you pushed me far from your mind? Where did our laughter go? Will you smile on me one more time? How can I hope when the hearts are growing dim? Love, this pressure is hard, and I feel that my life will cave in. And I heard you say, how can I forget you when you're resting in my hands? How can I forget you? For I want you to know that I love you so. Can you see me? Do you hear me? Lord, I'm nothing apart from you. How can I forget you when you're resting in my hands? How can I forget you? There will never come that day when I take my love away. How can I forget you? Can I You're in my master plan.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality radio show. I'm joined here by my co-host, author of Shaped by the Master's Hands, Lolita Robinson,
Good to be here. Good to be here.
and our in-studio guest. Welcome back to the
Yay.
show, Jocelyn Jackson.
Yay, Jocelyn, good to see you. Yeah,
glad to be back.
we had a show before the show, so I'm ready. I'm all hyped up, ready to go.
Well, if you don't know Jocelyn Jackson, you should, because you should go back to our archived shows and watch our Mother's Day special. She had a great message during Mother's Day, and now she's back to talk to us about grief recovery. And I think this is a very special topic because a lot of us during the holidays have to put on this smile. At least I do. I put on this fake smile that I'm happy and happy-go-lucky, and I'm spending all this money on gifts. And at the end of the day, I'm not very happy inside, and I'm not really wanting to spend the money and time, energy
Right,
into what's
right,
going on.
right.
And sometimes I got to take a step back and just be appreciative, but I also have to know that where I'm at is really the reality of my situation. And I think that's the hardest part for especially us living here in California, where our status is by what we have. and
Oh
what-
gosh, look at those commercials, Jocelyn. I mean, look at the commercials. I mean, big old Bose sitting on top of Lexus, and then K's jeweler. Every kiss begins with K. And I mean, I mean, everything you see
Yes.
is just prosperity and couples kissing in front of the fireplace. And I mean, so
That's so
I
funny.
I want to hear what you have to say. Is this up enough for her?
Yeah.
Just a
Okay.
little bit, Jocelyn. Yeah, just
What's
kind of
it-
give you a lead in.
What's interesting is that pretty much everything you just said was in one of the messages at church this morning.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm literally
God.
from the K to the commercials, like all of that was in the message. So I'll
I'm so
have
glad.
to
So that's
let-
like a confirmation then. So
Yes,
go ahead, share then.
absolutely.
What was the message? What was the whole premise of what?
Well, it was interesting because it was about having a grateful heart in the holiday season, especially during Christmas. And so a lot of the message was geared towards when when you're feeling down and when you're feeling sorry for yourself, that there is the main message that she had was that we need to really be diligent about figuring out how we can make them the best of a situation. But she made a great, it was Nicole Reyes.
Oh, okay.
So
Is she
she
a
did the
pastor,
message.
assistant
She's
pastor?
an associate pastor.
Oh wow! I'm so glad that we're track of the spirit. It's the spirit of the Lord, obviously. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
But literally, if you were to hear the message, you would freak out a little bit because you just said about 3 minutes of her message. Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
But then she also made a point of saying, I know some people are really going through a hard time right now. Some people are experiencing a trauma. I know she mentioned a lot of examples of things that people could be going through. And one of them was maybe your mom has died in the past few months. And I know that there was somebody in church that day in that service who that was their experience. So sometimes it's a great point to say we do need to figure out how we can make the best of a situation, but how do we also work through something when our heart is broken?
Good.
And so that's really the focus of what we're doing here, and just what we're talking about is being able to figure out how you do work through things when you're in the middle of an intense emotional experience.
That's beautifully said right there, because we're not poo-pooing anybody who is having these Kiss with K experiences, and I'm sure there are people out there that are, but in my sphere of influence, people are not having those experiences. And so I would really appreciate what you have to share with our audience out there. I know right now my mother's in the hospital. This is the 4th bout she's had with her heart, and we don't know. I'm taking care of my little niece, and it's totally different than what it was last year. So it's not a very festive time for me, but I have to learn how to keep going and find that peace.
Yeah.
So how do you do that in terms of grieving, and or how would that look in terms of what you're doing in your ministry for people?
Well, first of all, it's just an awareness of your life. Another message that really struck me in the past couple of months was when one of our pastors was talking about how you can walk around and think that your life is great. Then all you have to do is look to the car next to you that's, has a more expensive car, or look to somebody else who has a more expensive watch, or whatever it is, and start doing this comparison. And then all of a sudden your life isn't as great as you thought it was, because we're spending so much time comparing ourselves. And in the holiday season, I think it's a similar struggle that some people have, in that you look to what seems like everybody else is happy, clappy. Everything is just glittery and fabulous for everyone else. And so in comparison, it can make someone else, yourself, feel even worse about your situation. So, but because we are a society that is not comfortable with having any other emotion other than happiness,
there you go, girl.
Nobody feels okay.
Say that again.
We are a society that does not feel comfortable sharing any other emotion besides happiness, besides something that is glaringly positive. Because if it's something that is on the negative bent, then there must be something wrong. But that's
or like
not
you
true.
said, you're not a strong, righteous Christian. We were talking about that before we got on the air. In terms of church.
And before we continue, I do want to give a plug to your church, because the way we met, I always like to say how we met. We met Jocelyn at Oasis Church with John Brennan, when John Brennan's wife was the state representative. He's the regional director of Celebrate Recovery. His wife was giving her testimony. And that's how we met. Lolita and myself met you that day. Got you on the show. And Oasis Church has been now several ministries out of that church.
But between CR and
between CR, we had another young lady, Ann Pendergrass, and I think you went to one of her. She does a ministry out of Oasis Church as well.
Is that okay?
There's two.
There's two. Okay. All right.
But so and you're on staff at Oasis Church as well.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm on staff.
So you really give back in all facets of your life.
I guess so. I mean, I've been doing it for so long. That's just my life.
Right.
So it just feels like life to me.
Well, let's like you said, do a recap. Did you come through the grief ministry when your mother died? Is that when God started touching your heart, or were you involved in that before?
No, it was a long time after, actually, because it's been 11 years since my mom died.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been quite a while. And at the time, I had well-intentioned friends. My happiest times were actually at church, when I was around other people, and there was a lot of just loving people around me. But then I would go home and just be depressed, and it was really rough. What felt like to me like a roller coaster, because I would be so high at church and come down and just crash when I was at home, and it was a constant up and down and up and down. And I did that for quite a while, and was very, very physically exhausted. And and I had someone at church who was a grief recovery specialist, and she mentioned it, and I was like, oh, no, thanks. I'm
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Oh, yeah. So I started the same way that
I didn't know.
get-
Maybe you said that before. Okay, so
And I think a lot of
you
people
felt like you didn't need it.
Well, I just felt like I'll figure it out myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought.
And I think a lot of people out there listening and viewing might have the same notion of,
Sure.
you know, I'm okay. You know, I'm getting through it. I'm really getting through it, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
But those high peaks and low valleys really tend to wear and tear on you.
Yeah. At its worst, I would be just exhausted by about noon. And I was, at the time, I was an independent contractor for another company. So I got to set my own hours, and I was very thankful for that, because I would literally be done by noon, because
wow.
I was so, what
It
I
took
was doing.
everything to get dressed and get out of the house.
Yeah, and to put on my happy face, and
Right.
to like have it all together, so I didn't bring anybody else down, and I didn't make anybody else feel bad, because I felt so bad, and
Right.
everybody else is so happy. So I just need to figure out how to be happy. But I had no way of figuring out how to do that. So you just kind of fake the funk, really. You know, like if I can't be recovered, then I'll just act like I am. But your body knows, your heart knows the difference, and so that difference will exhaust you, and that's exactly where I was.
So is that when you hit like a bottom?
Yeah, and but I still, even still, I didn't get help. I didn't ask for help. The friend who was a grief recovery specialist, I kept her kind of in the back of my head, and a couple of years went by before I actually reached out and said, well, maybe I should, look into this. But the whole thing is that, a couple of years go by, and so all of these ideas, like, well, enough time has passed. I should have figured
Yep.
this out on my own.
Yep.
I'm not going to bother anybody. Like this, I just need to figure it out on my own, because isn't that what people do? You don't want to be a burden on anybody else. You just work it out yourself and be done with it. And so I had quite a few years of that mentality and that attitude. And it was really the thought, because I used to say, well, I didn't have anybody around to help me. And it was really the thought that I said, you know what, if somebody else was going through what I just went through, I wouldn't even know how to help them. I know what I went through, but I wouldn't even know how to help them. And it was that thought that really started to get me kind of going in the area of, let me try to get some help. So when something else comes up in the future, whether it's me or somebody else, that I actually can
Have
be
tools.
You have the tools. But what's also good is the experience. I know a lot of times when I sponsor people or share with them, it's, what it's like to not want to get the help. So you get it.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes to you, you can say, yeah, I was like you too.
Yeah.
I didn't get help either. And this is what happened, so you understand the difference between getting help and what it's like not getting help. So that's a great platform to work with people.
Yeah. But honestly, it was only until I was on the other side of the help, after I had received some help and received a lot of healing,
Did
that
you
I
see the difference?
really saw the difference. Like before, I had an idea that this would be good, but I had no idea how great it was going to be and how much it was going to change my life until I went through it.
I think that's so important, because I used to ask Lolita too, this recovery thing, you're telling me that there's a better way of living? Tell me there's a better way of living. She would say yes, but you have to go through the process.
Yep.
And I think that was,
And the
she was
thing-
giving me hope.
Well, and the thing that's important about it, and like we talked about so many things, and hopefully we can bring it out. The whole reason why we come here every week and talk about Joy in My House is community. It's not going through life alone. Going through, we can all do it. I mean, I'm a survivor. You're a survivor. You're a survivor. Van a survivor. We're all survivors, but it's how you survive. We don't have to do it alone.
Right.
And that was so. Is that what you found out by having a community of people around you to go through it with you? You could see the difference as opposed to going through it alone.
Yeah, well, and everyone is different, but grievers in general tend to isolate themselves.
Right.
They tend to hide away, be by themselves, and then only come out when they feel like they can be sociable, but not dealing with whatever's going on. So, what we want to work on, and one of the main things I like to impress upon people is that it's only when you start confessing these things and start talking about things to others that you're going to start to see some healing. It doesn't. You're not an island unto yourself.
No,
you
you're
can't
not.
You can't do it on your own. And
No.
for someone like, I'm a very private person. I like to keep things to myself. Isolation is like my favorite one, and so I have to always talk myself out of it. but I know that no good comes from it, even though it feels like a safe place. But it's not, because ultimately it's not solving anything. It's
No,
just
it's not.
allowing me to stay in the same drama that I'm just letting live inside of me.
Well, that's the whole crux of what we're talking
I
about.
think,
out there,
that's so
Jake.
important.
Going through this alone, you don't have to. Even the holidays, even if it's sharing a glass of water.
Yeah, even if it's a coffee, yes.
You know,
I
if
agree.
it's, me and my girlfriend last night went to see. We were talking about that Best Man's Holiday, and Jocelyn's seen it, and Van has seen it, and the second time I saw it, it was a different spin on it. It was about community, really. Friends going through all kinds of stuff together, but you can get through it together. It doesn't change the circumstances. You can't bring a dead person back,
Right.
or however your holidays might be not what you wanted them to be, or like you were saying, spending money you don't have, but just knowing you're not by yourself.
I think that is key.
That's
I
what
really
I want
believe it
you to
is.
share about your,
Because, I do a Celebrate Recovery program, and I lead the group now, and I'm sponsoring a couple of people. And a lot of times they just need somebody to listen to them.
Right.
Somebody to walk through them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would assume as a grief recovery specialist, you go alongside these people and you kind of listen to them and walk alongside them. Explain a little bit about what a grief recovery
Yes, what
specialist
it is.
does.
And this is life, but I have a niece who's acting up. Elizabeth, Nicole Harper,
Uh-oh.
take the chair and go over in the corner there. This is reality, people.
Reality radio.
We're star here. And then
You know, when you hear all three names, that's
you know you're in trouble. Elizabeth, go. Move the chair back. Go on. Thank you. So go ahead. I want to hear what you have
Well,
to
no,
say.
and this is just, like you said, I like what you said. This is reality radio. This is our life. We're not here to put on a face, just like what we're talking about right now. We're not here to say, we live these lavish lifestyles.
Yep.
We're real. We're real people with real struggles, real challenges,
Yep.
but real successes as well. But it's through our community, I think, that we engage with one
Right.
another and assist one another.
That's why we're glad you're here. So like he was saying, explain to us what it is.
Yeah, so what I do as a grief recovery specialist is really teach a class, a series of lessons and classes of how to, first of all, be aware of what it is that's going on inside of you, and then how to handle it in a better way. We learn how we handle it now in a lot of ways aren't really healthy ways. So we address those, and then we start to focus on, okay,
What are some
how-
unhealthy things? Give us some examples of unhealthy.
So we have, we call them short-term energy relieving behaviors.
I'm glad I asked you that.
And
Wow.
We have that in the notes. You're right on
Go
target.
ahead. I'm gonna let you go
No,
ahead,
no.
sweetie. Go ahead,
you're
because
doing
he's
great.
wonderful. But I mean, he has this so down pat. I love it.
Go ahead, Jocelyn.
And we call it STIRBs for short, because obviously that's a long name. But basically, a STIRB is a coping mechanism. It's something that we do to make ourselves feel better in the moment. It's basically a way just to medicate yourself. So it's a way to numb whatever pain you're currently experiencing. And the only problem is that they become such a habit that we think that this is healing. Like, all I got to do is do this thing, just have another drink, or, sleep with that guy who's going to make me feel better about myself, or doesn't matter what, smoke, whatever your STIRB is, go shopping. And it's going to somehow make everything better. But the problem is you're not dealing with the actual root of the problem. So once you come down from that high, you either go and do the same thing again, and it becomes a habit. That's what people get addicted in exactly that way, because they go back and back to the same thing, thinking it's going to somehow make things better, and it doesn't. So you become dependent on that thing, as opposed to actually just living for a moment in the pain and working through it. That's one of the biggest things that I teach too in the class, is like, can you please be okay with being uncomfortable? Because if you can learn to be uncomfortable for a season, then you'll be able to actually work through something and heal from it.
Well, see,
What else do you have on there?
I relate to that
Wow.
with doing this race that I did, the Spartan race. I teach these students. I'm not a trainer. I'm a teacher. I like to inspire and motivate them, and they in turn inspire and motivate me. So me going and doing this that was challenging. I don't like the cold. I can't stand being cold. It's very uncomfortable. It was something that I wanted to face and overcome.
Yeah.
So it was a process of facing it, being comfortable with being cold,
Right.
and then overcoming it and coming out saying, hey, it's possible to go through that process. It's so I think it's important
That's
that people hear
powerful.
that.
That is powerful. Learning to be uncomfortable. Okay, hold on one second.
There's also I wanted to also touch base that you talked about something so important, which was anger. I think it's an acting out as well. Anger. It's one of those unhealthy ways that I really think you should touch on, because a lot of people feel, well, I get upset.
Yeah.
Don't I have the right to get upset?
Yeah.
But it's now becomes a form of acting out where you're not really angry. You're just trying to manipulate or control.
Right. Yeah. So
you-
anger.
So go ahead, Tom. Just tying the two. So it's either
Unhealthy
medicating
ways.
yourself or now the anger.
But anger is also classified as disturbed too. So
Really?
you can medicate yourself with anger.
I didn't think of
because
that. How?
If you get angry enough, if you get a big enough of an attitude about something, then people are going to leave you alone. Like people use that as a way to get their way. And again, you're not really dealing with whatever is really going on, whatever the heart of the actual issue is. You're jumping to something that will, in the moment, give you some sort of satisfaction. And make you feel like you've won the war, but you haven't.
Yeah, because you're keeping people at a distance using that, so that's a good point.
And also, like you mentioned, relationships. And a lot of times you get into these relationships that you think are going to fulfill you, but a lot of times you still end up leaving the relationship either hurt or misunderstood. So you're in a worse position than you even were to begin with.
We call that couple-itis in my 12-step program.
Oh.
Couple-itis.
I like
Couple-itis.
that.
People get couple-itis during the holidays.
I like that term.
I know.
You want to get hooked up with
Want to get
someone.
hooked up with somebody, and then after the holidays.
What is it, breakup-itis? I don't know.
Yeah, but these are good things. I'm glad that you're breaking those down and you're saying that. So the relationship is an aspect of it too, which is another thing that's portrayed to us on TV. These Hallmark movies, Lord have mercy, they're beautiful. I love them, and I'm so glad that they have them. So I'm not, but they don't fix it.
No.
Because people die. Even if you have the most wonderful person, people die. They move away.
Yeah. One thing that you're just reminding me of too is not only is grief is a negative thing, but it's what we like to call it's cumulatively negative. So it's not like you have all of these different. And you listed a lot of different things. Like somebody can have financial struggles or a relationship struggle, or they could be addicted to something. And so it's not like inside in your heart. It's not like those are all these separate compartments. It all gets put together in one big blob. So everything that is inside of you that's unresolved is a huge issue to overcome. And it's why somebody, and like anger is a good example when we talk about it, it's why you can have an event, something can happen, and you know how somebody can explode like at a 10 when you really know like, oh, that was kind of like a 3 situation. It's because of because it wasn't about that one thing. It's about everything else in their life that's unresolved. That's accumulated inside of them, and it's just like living inside of them. You know, emotions are living things, and if they are not expressed in the proper way, they really can kill us.
But like you said, I was talking to somebody in my church. Negative. When you think of something negative, you think of something bad. But life is. I remember these doctors, these therapists who helped me there. Also, they have their theology degrees. They said that if you can teach your children to do these 2 main things in life, you've taught them the secret of life: to grieve losses and to negotiate change.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
That's absolutely right.
And I always thought about that. That's what life. We coin it negative, but it's life.
Yeah.
It isn't bad. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying when you say negative.
Yeah. You know,
clarify that. You know,
Pastor Philip said something a couple of years ago that was life-changing for me, because he talked about, you know, we talk about the glass being half empty or half full. So I've always grown up hearing that, you know, the right answer is that it's half full. Because if you look at it as it's half empty, then there's something wrong with you.
You're a negative person.
You're a negative person,
That's
and
right.
that's a
That's
bad thing.
right.
But
That's
the
right.
truth is, it's both. It is half empty. It is half full.
I love that.
And the perspective you have about it matters. And because I am a half empty kind of person. But what I've learned about my personality is I'm the type of personality that I look for the thing that is wrong, because I want to see that thing get corrected and healed, or whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But we would think that there is, because again, that sense of, well, you're looking towards the negative is something that people don't want to have.
They don't want to.
You don't
Is
want to
it
be
negative? You
labeled
see a
that way.
house that's broken down. Is it negative to go in there and want to repair it? Is it negative to? I love what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not a negative thing at all. But
If you live there and stay there, it can be.
yeah, but that's not what you're intending to do. But you don't even. I think society, there's a certain unspoken and sometimes a spoken pressure to have everything together, and what I always like to call it, to be happy clappy. So there's no room to even express anything that's not, positive. But the problem with that is that the temptation that people then walk away with is in, now I have to be fake. I can't really be who I am. I can't really tell you who I really am. I can't tell you what I'm really feeling or what I'm really going through, because it's not accepted. Because what you accept from me is only happy things. If I say something that might make you a little bit sad, then somehow I've done something wrong. And so we have just conditioned ourselves to say, well, it's okay if I just fake the funk. It's okay if, as long as I smile, as long as I make you happy, then everything's okay.
And I don't know where we got that.
And those are those high expectations.
I don't
of
know
other
where
people.
we got that in the church. I don't. Jocelyn and I were talking about that before. Jesus never portrayed. He said, "I came, Lord, you're going to have trials,
Yeah.
but with me you will overcome. I give you peace as the world cannot give."
Yeah.
I don't know where we got this happy go clappy. I love that
The happy
gospel.
clappy.
I mean, he said, "Weep with those who weep, rejoice with those who rejoice." Ecclesiastes says there's a time for everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know why we perpetuate this teaching in the church that we have to be victorious and strong all the time. That's not life.
Yeah, but the closest I can come to figuring out why that is, I think sometimes people come to church and maybe, most of us were a hot mess before we got into church and started to get our lives together. And so then now the way we show that we have somehow changed is that now we're perfect. Now we're completely righteous.
That's good.
Now we're so strong.
That's
because
good.
we're showing you because we're showing the difference from where we were to where we are now.
I like that.
And so I think that's a temptation that a lot of people in church have. Is like, I want to honor God, so I better have my act together.
That old man is dead. I don't want to go back there. And we understand we're not wallowing in that, but hey.
Yeah.
People want to see a real person. This is what happened. This is where I came from. And there's still elements that are still there.
Yeah.
But for the grace of God.
We're going to take a quick commercial break.
Yes.
We're here with Jocelyn Jackson, our in-studio guest, talking about how to get through the holidays. And we're speaking right now on negative ways. When we come back, we're going to speak on the positive ways that we can interact during the holidays. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.
I'm always in one of mine. Constant spins, not trusting. He opens doors to go in, but I'm afraid to depend upon him. I bring him ashes for gold. He starts to work, I put him on hold. Still he's faithful to me, 'cause he's blind as to see. I'm praising God, praising God. I'm praising God, praising God. I'm praising God, praising God. I'm praising God. My clothes ain't all fancy, and my car ain't brand new, but there is joy in my house.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez
And I'm Lolita Robinson Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House.
on LATalkLive.com. Inspirational radio,
With a touch of recovery.
a reality show where nothing is left unsaid,
And no one is insignificant who says it.
exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Barbara Perkins, inviting you to join us every Sunday afternoon at 2:40 for Sisters at the Well Radio. a conversation with women about women. Join us as we share stories about current events, jazz events, business opportunities, health and wellness, entertainment, and so much more. So don't forget to tune in Sundays at 2:40, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is John McClure Jr., aka Simply John, and I would like to invite you to join us on gospelrhythms.com every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our show gospelrhythms.com Talk Live Radio. Join us as we celebrate Christians around the world in all genres of entertainment, as well as highlight interest stories on men and women who are making a difference and impacting their community. So don't forget to tune in to gospelrhythms.com on LA Talk Live. And we're more than just talk. Remember, it's a heaven's party here on earth. So live life. Love God.
Hey, shout us out. What's the count? I'm your host, Ferran Dozier. I'm inviting you to join me on WDC Radio every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as we discuss community topics around health, sports, and entertainment. So don't forget to shout us out. What's the count? On WDC Radio, only on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. What's the count?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant. Who says it?
I'm joined here by my co-host and recording artist, Lolita Robinson.
Glad to be back.
And our in-studio guest, Jocelyn Jackson.
Yes.
She's a grief recovery specialist. Welcome back to the show.
You're helping me a lot, giving me a lot of peace.
Oh,
you know,
good.
because it just reminds me why we're in recovery and what we're doing is the right thing, even though it's hard.
Yeah, and
So-
it's an unsung hero, I would have to say, grief recovery, because nobody walks into grief recovery thinking that, you know, you're going to get swarms of people to just jump in and go through it with you. But I just know the benefit of it. I know the amount of peace that's come in my life and the happiness that I've been able to have when working through some things that never would have, my emotional well-being never would be where it is now had I not worked through some stuff. And so, but it's just not something people sign up for. Like you say, grief recovery, that people don't sound, you know, they're not
you had
lining
some
up out the door
opposition
for
too,
that.
didn't you? Didn't you have some
Right.
opposition at the beginning when you, without mentioning names, when you wanted to bring this to?
Well, you know, in the Christian community, sometimes, you know, it can be, it can be a hard sell because the curriculum that we go through is really, it's like a tool that you use. It's an emotional skill set that you use. But then within the Christian community, because we are Christ followers and because we are doing our best to do His will, sometimes what that sounds like for some people or feels like for some people is that it has to look like X, Y, and Z. So we have to be reading scripture and it has to be covered in prayer and it has to have all of these spiritual disciplines for it to be genuine. But what I do in grief recovery, it really isn't a spiritual discipline. It's an emotional skill set that you use, and there's a difference in that. And I don't think we talk about that. It's not a Bible study.
Right. People don't understand that.
And so sometimes because it's not a Bible study, it doesn't have as much value to some people in the Christian community. But here's the thing: when we talk about your emotional well-being in your life, if you're being told what to think and told what to do, or just like what we were talking about before the break, if you're so dead set on appearing the way you think others think you should be, you're not even addressing, you're not being honest yourself. So that's the tricky thing. It's like, but so you need to be honest about what's really going on with you, even if it's dark, even if it's ugly, even if it's painful, whatever it is has to be expressed. And you can't do that as long as you're living in this temptation to act like everything is all hunky-dory. And, you know, I love the Word of God. I read the Bible every day. And
does,
yeah, absolutely. But it's one thing to read the Word of God, and then it's another to what I would call appropriate the Word of God, which means that you're actually putting it into action. You can't do that if you're not even at an emotional or a spiritual place to do that. So it's one thing to read, but sometimes people just stop there. It's like, well, I've been reading my Word. Okay, but if you're gonna make it powerful, you need to apply it to your life.
And it's it's an alive book. It's the Holy Spirit coming in and transforming those places, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And if we're going to be light in a world that is in darkness, God doesn't need fake lights. If we have a testimony for him, like you said, that we need to be honest in the things that he has taken us through.
Yeah.
And that's a real product of his work, not pretending.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying about that.
I don't think God needs us to regurgitate his word. He needs us to live it out, and the only way we do that is in a healthy way. So the work that you do in grief recovery gets you to a place where you can not only speak his word but proclaim it in all genuineness of your heart and your life.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Awesome.
And I can compare that to teaching. You know, I can verbatim tell them what to do, but I also have to teach them how to apply it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what I teach if they're not at the level, if they're not conditioned enough for them to learn a spinning jump kick. I can tell it to them all day.
Right.
They will not be able to do it.
Right.
It's a process of going through these layers. And then when you are taught these tools, being able to use them properly in the right time. So I kind of agree with that recovery process.
There are some people, I heard this prominent therapist who used to be on talk radio, said that she was a black belt, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're skilled in fighting.
That's right. That's right.
You know, some people have gone through, like, say, for instance, you can be a black belt, but if you really get assaulted on the street.
Yeah, there's certain situations where.
Come on, baby. That's putting the rubber where the road is.
That's
when you're
right.
coming with somebody who actually wants to kill. So I like what you're saying. You have to have the knowledge, but
it's also application of it.
And that's what the Word of God is too.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So this recovery process, you know, as we tell people, what are some of the positive things, the healthy ways of behaving or interacting during the holidays that might bring us a little bit more peace?
Yeah, so one of the things I mentioned earlier is kind of, I think, the jumping off part of how this is how you begin to start living in a healthy way during the holiday season, and that is being okay with being uncomfortable.
I love that.
That's the hardest part, I think. Denial.
Yeah. Get past that, you're halfway there already.
Yeah.
But that's the hard part because we're not comfortable, because we want to be approved by others. We want others to like us. We don't want people to look down on us and think negative things about us, or and think that we should be a different way than we are. So there we fake the funk, and because it feels better in the moment, I can get this person's approval right now if I just smile, and instead I'll just shove down whatever's really going on with me. So the first thing is an awareness. The first thing is just the ability.
I'm in the valley. I'm in the valley of the shadow of death right now.
The ability to be honest about that, and to be okay, and to say it to someone instead of when somebody is saying, "Hey, how are you?" and you know good and well you are not okay.
You know what? I don't. For some reason, I get kind of like put off when people go, "I'm blessed." I'm like, that's nice, but I understand that, but sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't know. It just kind of.
No, I think we're on the same page with
Yeah.
that. But, because sometimes I think I would love to have a conversation with you, not to be
Yeah,
like
what
a
does that
bully, but
mean?
sometimes I
Yeah.
want to let's find out. I want to hear really what's going on, because
Right.
that's the idea. As I'm a good Christian, so
Yeah,
I'm blessed.
I'm
and-
blessed. So it's like a big wall goes up.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. So if you're blessed, well then there's nothing I can do because I'm
Yeah.
sometimes I'm blessed and sometimes I'm not.
Yeah,
So,
but I'm
yeah.
always reminded when Jesus said, "When troubles come," he didn't say if they come. He said when. So if Jesus himself is acknowledging that there is going to be pain and there's going to be suffering in our lives, why can't we acknowledge it?
Exactly. And he had the 12 disciples. That's what JT talked about, our pastor. He had the 12.
Yeah.
His little support group, even though they faltered or whatever at one point, he himself demonstrated this.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's such a thing as the fellowship of his suffering.
Right.
The suffering being the key word in that type of fellowship, that we fellowship with Christ in all ways, in ways that he abides in glory and in his suffering. That's the life that he led on this earth, and that's the life that we are in, and we need to acknowledge every aspect of it. So
number
the
one
first
is
healthy
admit.
it is an awareness.
You are in the valley of the shadow of whatever.
Yeah.
I'm in the valley of taking care of a 7-year-old when my kids are grown.
Yeah.
Go
and
ahead.
you were right. It is hard. It is. I think this is probably one of the hardest steps. Just being in that moment where because it's a habit. You're in that temptation to say
act
I'm
out.
great
Yeah.
and I'm not. And to feel that uncomfortableness, it's a great exercise. I mean, anyone listening, I strongly encourage next time somebody asks you you're okay and you're not having a great day, go ahead and be honest with them. And when I teach classes, they're like, "But what happens after that?" It's like you sit there and you wait for the
this
answer.
Is it. Right, this is it. You don't have to go on now. Look, I've had some people take me in a corner and talk for an hour about how bad it is. Now we're not saying that either.
Yeah.
Lolita gets caught up the minute they see her. If Lolita's open to talk, everybody
go
always
to
wants
her.
to talk to her.
Yeah.
And if those kind of events, but sometimes it does get overwhelming. So we are talking about balance, but I love that. Admit where you are with us. Admit powerlessness.
Yes.
That's what we do. That's our first step.
And if you're afraid to do it, I always say, I just
Yeah.
encourage people. It's like if someone asks a question, they better be ready for the answer.
For the real answer.
Yeah,
Right.
for the real answer. So
Right.
go ahead and give the real answer. They asked you, so you tell
Yeah, because
them.
when I ask, I try to be genuine, especially like I said, I don't always hang out with Christians. I hang out with these
Yeah.
roughneck
Where
fighters
we're supposed to be.
and these people. And
We're
when
supposed
I-
to be in the world.
Right. And when I ask them, I go, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh, it's going good." "Well, how was this?" I tend to kind of engage a little more and
Right.
dig.
Right.
And if they ask me, "How's it going?" Hey, one day at a time. Today I'm struggling with, I have to take my daughter to school every morning and pick her up, and then still come back and teach and wake up at, sometimes 4:30 in the morning to do strength and conditioning or whatever it is that I do. I have to constantly be engaging because sometimes I need that too. I need them to ask, "How you doing?" "Well, you know what? I'm kind of struggling with this right now."
Yeah.
So
It's a
awareness
door
is,
opener.
is-
It's a door
It
opener.
really is. Awareness is key.
So
Yeah.
that's
Right.
number one. So what's in that second
then,
thing?
Yeah, what he just said is actually the second thing is safe people, and finding people in your lives who you can share who you really are with, who will be just there to hear you. One of the things I say is so interesting because in grief recovery, you learn to work through some things, but I tell you, because you get a partner, and so you do your homework, you come back and you share it with someone, and the next best skill that you learn is the skill of just listening. And I tell them one of the best things that you can do in this is learn how to be a great listener. So when you're doing that, you are listening. You're not trying to fix them. You're not interrupting them and giving them better ideas. You're just available to them. And I think one of the best ways, this is how you know you have a safe person. If you can think of the people in your life when you walk away and you feel like you were heard, you feel like you were loved and you weren't judged, there's your safe person.
You got that right.
Utilize those people.
And they can't do anything, but just like you said, there's just something in having that comfort.
Right.
There is something in that.
Because I think people
Yeah.
feel like if they're going to listen to a problem, then they have to fix it for you.
Right.
No, and they don't. You
And
just need to
I think a
listen.
lot of
That's-
people
that's a good
they're
point.
waiting to speak. They don't even really listen or even hear you. They're just waiting to respond or rebuttal. And I deal with that constantly, where I almost feel like, why do you even ask me any questions if you're
Yeah.
you're gonna answer for me?
That's
So
true. That's a good point.
So I think
So I'm
listening
keeping
is
a
definitely
list.
a
So
skill.
admit that you're in the valley. Seek out awareness. Seek save people.
Yeah. Safety.
Yeah.
And then this one, I will talk about till I'm blue in the face.
That's all right.
I strongly believe that journaling is incredible.
I'm there with you.
Thank you. That is an incredible gift
Yes.
for your life. There's something about putting your thoughts on paper. It's different from the thoughts that you have in your head.
It is.
When you write it out, when you get to see your thoughts, sometimes you get surprised by yourself. And I always say I'm more honest on paper. It's not like I'm a dishonest person, but like when I'm thinking about things, I sometimes will have a tendency to like gloss over something or not think about it. When I'm sitting there with a pen and a paper, I'm just writing out everything. I'm not editing myself. I'm not telling myself what to think. I'm not correcting myself. I'm just saying everything that's going on. So you learn about yourself in a way that you never would think, and when you're writing things down.
That's interesting because when my husband died and my brother, I wrote letters every day to them. Now the letters have kind of ceased. I filled up 3 notebooks with my husband, and I filled up 2 big ones. And it's almost like emptying. To me, it's like emptying out a cluttered up closet.
Yep.
That's the way I think of it. When you write, you're just emptying out all this stuff, and it is very healing. A lot of people don't like to journal, but it is. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Did you write letters when your mom passed, or?
I journaled a lot. I didn't write letters to her necessarily, but I wrote out what I was thinking and what I was feeling.
You know, that's very good stuff.
Well, I do want to give the audience an opportunity. If they have any questions or comments, I know we're coming to a close, but feel free to call in. The studio line is at the bottom. It is 323-473-3100 with any questions or comments for Jocelyn Jackson. She is a grief recovery specialist. And also there's a website that they can go on and find more information. Give us that website where if you're out
In
there
your
hurting
community,
and
where
have
you-
some questions.
Where you're going to set up your talks and stuff.
Yeah. So the website is freedomfromgrief.com. And if you you can click on classes and see this class schedule. And I have a workshop coming up. And so you can find that, or you can click on facilitators and just find me
What's
there
a
too.
workshop where you give them exercises to do?
It's like a little mini class. So a lot of the things that we've talked about, I'll go over in that workshop too. So it's on a broader scope. We just go over in this particular one is about how to get through the holidays. So we just talk about the struggles that we can have during the holidays, what each and every one of us may be doing that is or is not healthy, and then we talk about this and a couple of other healthier ways to really process your losses.
That's a good one. You guys might want to get on that because
And the website again is freedomfromgrief.com, and you can actually find yourself facilitated directly to Jocelyn Jackson. I want you guys to engage with us out there. If you're listening and viewing, be a part of the joy that we have in our house through having community, through being together and being supportive of one another.
You don't have to do it alone.
No.
And I think that's one of the hardest things, especially during the holidays, is isolation. I think the first thing we want to do, including myself, I don't want to deal with it. Just leave me alone. That's the first go-to acting out addiction that I have is, I don't want to deal with it. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But just the opposite. God put us on this earth for community, for relationships, and engaging with one another, even through
And to
our hard
encourage one
times.
another and cry with one another, do whatever it is we have to do. Is there anything else that you want to say in terms of what's on your heart? Or
Well, just Joel just reminded me of something. A lot of people do think they either want to sleep through the holidays or pretend that the holidays don't exist at all.
Right.
Just another day, like
Yeah.
people say. It's not.
And that's become a habit. Like every year, I'm just going to pretend that this doesn't exist. And the thing that it obviously does, and one of the things that you can do is to start recognizing that if you have unresolved grief in you, that it needs to be dealt with. And enduring is not healing. So I just like to always put that out there.
I like that. Enduring is not healing.
But we think that enduring is the way to
Right.
go. It's just like, I'm going to get through the holiday and then I'll be fine again. But whatever is unresolved with you is still there. So the best way to get through a holiday season is to start to address the issues that are lacking in your lives, whether it's a relationship with a family member or a loss that you've never really processed. Whatever it is to deal with it.
And if you don't, like this year, I can't give out gifts. because my work has been down. Well, I get to just, like Thanksgiving, my sons came over and they were laughing at that practical joke show where these four guys get together and they put a mic in somebody's ear and they put them in the public and make them do this crazy stuff, and it's hilarious. That was fun.
Mm-hmm. Just
cookies, make
fellowshipping.
some cookies, eggnog, go to a movie with a friend. It's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. It's what it is.
Well,
It
we
doesn't have
always
to be spectacular. but
right. We always like to ask, to all of our guests, and I know that you've heard this question before, but today and during the holidays right now, we would love to ask you, Jocelyn, what does joy in my house mean to you?
Okay, joy in my house. When I hear the word joy, I think it is separate from what we would consider happiness in certain circumstances that we think would make our life happier. And regardless of what's going on around us, that joy still lives within us. So to me, joy in my house is really being able to find a place in my heart that regardless of what's going on around me, that I know that I'm well. That I'm not just saying I'm well, but I'm well, and I know that.
It is well with my soul.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is well.
Well,
with
Jocelyn,
that's wonderful. That's beautiful.
Thank you for coming on the show
Yes,
again.
Jocelyn.
you.
Good luck to your workshop and your
Thank you.
classes, and you hang in there.
Thank you.
Hang in there. It's great.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy
Fan,
in my
love you.
house. I want to thank you guys for being a part of the joy that we have in our house. I want to thank Van Eric, Jocelyn, Lolita, and all of you out there. This is Joy in my house. Have a blessed day, and we will see you next week with John Childress from An Addict's Choice. Author. He'll be here next week. So join us every Sunday live at noon. This is Joy in my house.
Excuse me, Father. May I come in?